Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 45,000 subscriber live stream. Yeah, per usual, just feel free to start shooting off questions. I'll do the best I can. Hopefully, the audio's good, and if not, just start firing away. Looks like we have a few people in the chat. See Leo B, Jaden Herbert, Coiffier, Waffle XL200, uh, the Connects expert, Kat Ashworth, and I'm sure more people will trickle in. So, yeah, as I mentioned at the start, I just got back from Japan. So, visited quite a few parks, did some non-park stuff like going to temples and such. So, yeah, I'll just start going through the questions and yeah, feel free to chime in. So I see Leo B, where's Hakuge rank in your RMC's top five? I haven't put in my rankings yet, but it's definitely an elite ride. Probably top five RMC. Jane Herbert, excited for Twisted Gravity this weekend. Yeah, that should be a Hershey Park. You need another big flat ride, and that's a perfect fit. I love the placement over by the. I think that's a creek down there next to Great Bear. Um, have you seen concerts at Hershey Park Stadium? I have not. I did visit the park last year on a day with a concert, and I made sure to get out of there before the concert ended because I heard the traffic was horrendous. Do you think Siren's Curse will be open by July 14th? If it's testing now, I suspect it will. I'm guessing sometime in late June. Waffle XL200, do you think Alpenfury will be the best Premier Rides coaster? It definitely is a strong case to be that, considering it has so many inversions and yeah, it's more dynamic layout than I've done in the past. Um, Leo B, what are your top bucket list coasters after this trip? Probably Stardust Racers, Falcon's Flight when that eventually opens, and T Express. Um, the Connect expert. Do you have a new Discord link? The one in your bio is expired. So I admittedly don't use Discord that much. And I don't think the Canopy Coaster Discord's particularly active. I'd have to double check. So I'll have to see how I want to handle that in the future. Mike VR, best Six Flags dark ride. Probably Justice League Battle Metropolis. Well, actually, no, Monster Mansion. That's just a great classic dark ride. A lot of fun. Hello, Brian Sanchez. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this next one. Hello, I'm from Korea. I'm sad Korean parks are not having more roller coasters except the park in Gyeongju. Yeah, it'd be nice if the parks, especially near Seoul, added new coasters, considering how busy they are. I saw Lotte World was getting a new dark ride. I think it was like Godzilla versus Kong. So I'm intrigued to see how that turns out. Stephanie Gregg, hello. We're doing good. Hello, the Boogeyman. Danny D has Six Flags New England mentioned anything about Quantum Accelerator Media Day or Opening Day? So there was an email sent out to Ace looking for extras in mid-June for a media day, but media members haven't heard anything officially. I think they're just trying to get Ace people for sure to make sure that they can fill all the seats in the train. That way, there can be good pictures and videos as opposed to sending empty trains. Samuel Cohn hitting Peony Playland this summer. Any tips for that park? Um, are you going during the Peony Fair? If so, expect huge crowds and consider getting the that fast lane skip the line pass they offer. Otherwise, I say go to Coaster first because I think that might still only be running one train. And it's their best ride by far. Um, Hello, Landmark. Mike VR, you're going to Six Flags Great Adventure. What ride should you go on? I mean, that park has a lot of great coasters. El Toro and Jersey Devil are the two best rides, in my opinion, there. King's Coasters, you're going to King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg this summer. What do you think are the top five best coasters in Virginia? I have a full video on the best coasters in Virginia, but the top three are Twisted Timbers, Pantherian, and Pantheon. Jaden Herbert, favorite family coaster. So it's that one's a tough one because it depends what you classify as a family coaster. Are you going off of, yeah, um, are you going after, like, low height limit or thrill level? Because if you're going off low height limit, I'd probably go with Phoenix the Knobles, but I'd argue that's not really a family coaster based off how strong the airtime is. Disney has a lot of great family coasters because they're, enjoyable for all with the theming, but they also have a little oomph to them. Um, yeah, so that's a really tough one to answer. Another good family coaster, I love Fire Chaser Express at Dollywood. Gerstlauer makes a lot of great family coasters. Maple Syrup Productions. Will you be coming to Canada's Wonderland this year for Alpine Fury? I plan to. I'll probably just make like a long weekend going up there, but don't know when it'll be for sure. Fierce Bueda, did you visit Japan recently? Yes, I did. I'll have more Japan content coming forward, and I'll have reviews for their coasters starting tomorrow. Brian Sanchez, how was the bachelor party for McLovin? So I wasn't technically at the bachelor party. I just happened to be at Hershey Park the same day. And I've run a McLovin before, so we hung out the first night, but I wasn't there for the festivities the following day. And I also know they got really hosed by weather the following day. But the day I ran to them at night, it was beautiful weather. Wildcat was flying, and it was the first time a lot of them gone Sky Rush with the updated restraints. Atomic Snails with Six Flags America closing. Do you think there's any chance Batwing finds a new home, or is the model dead? Unfortunately, I think the model's going to be dead. Just because that ride, is so old and had a lot of issues. I don't see another park wanting it. The Boogeyman. How do I join Ace? I've been thinking about joining. I think you just go find whatever region's yeah, closest to you, and you sign up online. Coasting around. If you had to pick a favorite and least favorite park, um, what would you pick? So my favorite park's the original Disneyland. Least favorite park is so for me, it has to be a park that's doesn't have much and has really, really bad customer service. So the example I give is NASCAR Speed Park. They had a limited ride lineup to begin with, very pricey to get in, and they flat out lied about ride availability, saying everything was open. They had multiple go-kart tracks closed for staffing, and a few rides were closed for due to the after effects of a storm. Again, I understand if stuff has to be closed, but at least be transparent about it. Waffle XL 200. Which manufacturer could break the inversion record next? Um, I mean, Gerstlauer, Intamin would obviously do if someone paid for it. B&M would be fully capable again if someone was willing to pay for it. Maple Syrup Productions. When are you going to Epic Universe? Um, I'm probably gonna go sometime in the fall. I really don't like going to Orlando in the summer between the oppressive humidity and crowds. I also want the park to work out some of the kinks. Like I've been avoiding spoilers for the dark rides, but I've heard Ministry has had some extremely long lines because I don't believe it's running at optimal capacity yet. So I want to wait until all those opening kinks are worked out. Jaden Herbert, I completely lost my voice screaming in Wildcat's Revenge. Yeah, that ride's a lot of fun. Uh, Jared, do you think Canopy Lake Park should refurbish the Mine of Lost Souls? Um, yeah, I mean, I like that ride. It's a classic for the park, but it definitely could use some updating in a few scenes. The Connects expert. What is your home park? Well, it used to be Canopy Lake Park, hence the name, but I moved closer to Providence. It was Edaville, but that park just closed. So technically, the closest park is Ocean Beach Park. Practically, my home parks are Lake Compounds and Six Flags New England. The Boogeyman. Best B&M hyper in your opinion? Excluding the Gigas, Shambhala. I love that layout. So much floater airtime and beautiful views. Uh, 1 FTP. After the Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger, Which legacy Cedar Fair parks does the merger favor? And which legacy Six Flags parks does the merger favor? So I'd say anything that's in a big market could benefit. So we see Six Flags over Texas getting the Giga Dive. That was a park that, that's a huge market, and they didn't have as big of a share as they used to. So that's a perfect example where they can invest to try to grow. For Cedar Fair, I think we've seen where they invest, so they're going to keep favoring the parks they always have. Mike VR, which Dark Knight clone is the best one? I think Six Flags Mexico's because it has a better waiting area outdoors, and then that one also had the effects working the best when I've been there. DXV 3D. Will you recommend Velocicoaster as my first thrill coaster, or is it too much in your opinion? It is a very good option in the sense that it's very smooth and it does a lot, but it is a pretty wild ride. Um, I guess it depends what you consider to be a thrill coaster. Like if you're down in Orlando, I say White Lightning's a better first thrill coaster because it's a dynamic ride, but it doesn't go upside down. Um, but yeah, I'd say like at Universal, I think Hulk is more intense than Velocicoaster. Samuel Cohn, if you're a Hershend, what parks do you sell and which do you pay the most attention to? So I think they're gonna keep favoring Dollywood and Silver Dollar City. Those are their 2 big parks, they're big resorts, and they're still gonna invest in them. I think some other parks that could really benefit Kennywood, just because that park already is a lot built up. I think Lake Compounce could be a sneaky benefactor because it's in a reasonably good market because it's near both New York City and Boston, and they have a lot of land available since they, cleared the path around the lake. Coasting around, are you planning visiting Six Flags Great America for Wrath of Rakshasa? And do you think it'll be the best dive coaster? Um, I would like to get to that park this year. Don't know if it'll happen. It definitely is a contender for being one of the best dive coasters. It just depends how smooth it is. Mike VR, which Boo Blaster's clone is the best one? I like the one at King's Dominion. It seems to be a bit longer than the other ones. Dicronius, I just got a GoPro Hero 12 Black. What are some tips you can give when recording POVs? Always get permission from the park and operators. You don't want to film something that gets you kicked out of the park and angers the park. Um, and then I'd say invest in both a chest and a wrist mount because they both have their advantages depending upon the ride. Some parks only allow one or the other, but like I said, it's nice to have options. The Boogeyman, best time to go to Silver Dollar City. I really like going at Christmas. The lights are absolutely beautiful, and I've had good luck with crowds that time of year because a lot of people are there for the shows and lights. So the ride lines are usually manageable, and you get plenty of time for night rides. Spam 2, what is your favorite movie? Some of my favorites are Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones Last Crusade, and Infinity War. Cat Ashworth, between the gyro swing at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Paulton's Park getting Eurofighter next year, do you think it might be a sneaky good one for the UK parks? Um, yeah, I think next year will be a nice year to be an UK enthusiast. I don't think it'll be as good as what 2024 was when you had, Hyperion, Nemesis Reborn. But yeah, it's nice those two parks are getting, sizable additions. The Kinects expert, you found Hulk smoother than Velocicoaster and Velocicoaster smoother than Decepticoaster. That's interesting you found Hulk smoother. I think most people find Velocicoaster smoother. I'm unfortunately not surprised if Septicoaster is a little rougher, given how the newer B&Ms tend to have a bit of a rattle to them. But um, yeah. Maple Syrup Productions. What manufacturer do you think will make the replacement for Rip Ride Rocket? I think it's a good chance it'll be an Intamin because I think there's been evidence of like a shipping form in their name. Correct me if I'm wrong, or a permit or something. Skyline 17. A few parks ran their trains and their Batman clones backwards a few years ago. Did you experience this? Yep, I did it a few times at Six Flags Great Adventure, super intense. DJ Dog 5. Planning on hitting up any parks this weekend? No, I have some just considering we just got back from Japan, we, need to go around and see some family this weekend. The Kinect's expert, he considered getting meta glasses for POVs. I have not. The reason being, I don't like the visual quality as much as, a GoPro, and a lot of the parks that don't allow filming, with a GoPro technically don't want you to film with glasses as well. Um, they're just harder to catch, so the parks don't really stop people as easily. I'd rather get a POV that's higher quality than get one from the glasses. Because a lot of parks, even if you can't film yours, at least they have their own POVs on their pages. Perfect example, a lot of the Cedar Fair parks do. Connor Foster, I'm about to go on a European trip. I watched a lot of your videos to prepare. I can't remember which park, but I remember seeing one sold shirts with the F word on it. Do you know which park it is? Yeah, that was Wallaby Holland. Those shirts were sold pre-COVID. I don't think they still sell them, but I couldn't believe they sold them. That was pretty weird to see as an American. Samuel Cohen, what are your thoughts on Codaland and its two opening coasters? Yeah, I'm really excited for a big tilt track to open, a tilt coaster open. Circuit Breaker looks awesome. Palindrome looks really cool with that stall over the road and um, the backwards component. I just hope that park, is able to open successfully after such a long build period. Waffle XL 200. Do you think Hershey and United Parks could merge in the near future? I don't think they will. But you never know. I wouldn't have thought Six Flags and Cedar Fair would merge a year ago. So, Dicronius, which parks do you visit while in Japan? I got back to Disneyland, Tokyo, Disney Sea, um, Tokyo Dome City, Joypolis, Fuji-Q, Nagashima, Universal Studios, and I went to um, the one, but sorry, I always get the name mixed up. Hanayashiki. Nick's vlogs. I'm going to Six Flags America for my first time. Advice for my first, and it's Joker's Jinx launch punchy. Yeah, it's decent power to it. The launch. And then if it's your first time, ride Batwing if you see it open. Expect that ride to probably open a little late. But if you do see that rope drop for the area over by Batwing, head right over just in case it closes. DJ Dog 5. Not sure if you saw, but Palace Playland is getting a third new ride for 2025, Edaville's old Samba balloons. Yeah, that's great. They picked up some rides at Edaville. Especially the prices seem quite reasonable for rides that were in good condition. That'll be nice to have another spinning ride at that park. Mr. Gameplay, I recently went to Kalahari in the Pocono Mountains, and your top 10 video was a huge help. Thank you so much. Yeah, glad you had a great time there. They have a great slide lineup. I just have not had good luck with slide availability. So hopefully it was better for you there. That's why I prefer the other two parks in the Poconos, just because I've been able to go and pretty much everything's been open. One FTP, will you be attending the opening day of Six Flags Qiddiya? And do you think Falcon's Flight could be your number one? It definitely has the potential, just given how huge that ride is and unlike anything else out there. Plus, it has an amazing setting. I definitely will not be there opening day though. I kind of want to take a wait and see approach to that park to see how people go over there, how it is, and see how reliable the rides are, especially that one. Crystalic, how was Japan? What was your favorite of the weird rides you did, like janky or unique ones? Um, so I will just say at Hanayashiki, that roller coaster is the oldest one in Japan. I was expecting a pretty tame jet coaster that did nothing. That ride had some sneaky good airtime. So I'd say that one. John Pelosi, are you planning on going to Six Flags America before it closes? So I've been to that park, a few times through the years. I'd like to get back one more time. I'll probably stop in there whenever I go down to Busch Gardens this year. Jaden Herbert, they're bringing Universal Studios to the UK. What do you think about that? I'm excited for another Universal park. Their new stuff has been really good. So I haven't been to Epic Universe yet, but everything I've heard is it's one of the best parks in the world. So I'm excited to see what they can do with another big park. Mason, that weird guy. How would you feel about a 100-degree drop on the Giga Dive coming to Six Flags over Texas? Yeah, I welcome the steeper B&M drops. I'm just excited to see a Giga on that scale. Samuel Cohen, what are your thoughts on the Mattel Park? Yeah, I'm really excited to see another big indoor park open. The market in Arizona really needed another big park, and that'll be a great fit for them. Um, as for the Chance coaster, it looks janky for sure, but Chance proved they can do really good profiling with lightning runs, so I think it should definitely be smooth. The Connects expert, did you ride Edgenica? I did Dino Conda and it was cool. Yep, I rode Edgenica. I was not expecting to get on it, but they got it open shortly before my trip. I had ridden it in the past, but obviously want to get back on it. It was a great ride. It ran smoother than my last visit, and it's definitely an intense ride. I still have it really close to X2 though. It is better than X2, but I don't think it's significantly better. Dicronius, do you have any plans for Europe in the near future? I'll probably go over there at some point this summer, but no exact dates or plans. Mason, that weird guy. Do you think the Giga Dive could potentially be the best at Six Flags over Texas? I think it definitely has a chance. It just depends how much is in the layout after that drop and how smooth it is. Henry, have you been to Cedar Point Shores? If so, what do you think? I've been there very briefly. I haven't spent too much time in there. It's kind of hard to pull me away from Cedar Point. If that water park was anywhere else, I'd spend more time at it. But at Cedar Point, I'm there to go on the big coasters. Jaden Herbert, do you like Reese's Cup Fusion at Hershey Park? Yeah, it's a nice dark ride. I just hate the queue and capacity for it, but there's plenty of targets. They work well, and it's a nice contrast to their coasters. Mason, that weird guy. You should visit Hurricane Harbor, Arlington. There's a slide tower at the back of the park. There's three tall slides. The shortest of three, Geronimo, has some great airtime on steep drop. Yeah, potential I'll visit that park in the future. I typically try to avoid Texas in the summer due to how hot it gets, but I need to get there in the summer to visit some of the water parks, particularly Schlitterbahn. And then there's another water park near Dallas I want to get to. Trying to remember the name. It's NRH20. Yeah, that one looks pretty cool too. Waffle XL 200. Do you think Universal's UK will be as profitable as Islands or Epic Universe? It definitely could be. I mean, Universal parks typically do very well regardless of where they're located. Maple Syrup Productions top three dive coasters. Yukon Strikers number one. Trying to remember, go from memory which one's next. I think it would probably be Griffin and trying to think of forgetting another big one. Those are the two that come to mind. Again, I might be missing one of them. Just double checking. Valkyrie is another really good one. Um, Elite Lord. Glad to meet you at Emerald Park. What addition would you like to see there? I'd really like to see them just update the aesthetics of that front area, just because it doesn't match the quality further in the park. There's nice theming, but in terms of like a ride, they really need a high capacity family coaster. Considering how the family coasters they have typically have the longest lines in the park. Some of them, like Dino Dash, have a 60-minute wait, and they all run one train. They need a high capacity family coaster to help draw the crowds away. Nick's vlogs. What do you think about Great White's retrack and the new cars? Um, Yeah, I'm excited they're taking good care of the ride. It was running fine when I rode a few years ago, but I like Millennium Flyer trains, and hopefully they run well on the ride. The Boogeyman. Which park is the best coaster lineup? I would have said Cedar Point before they made the two most recent additions. So the fact you have Top Thrill 2 and Siren's Curse opening, I have to go with Cedar Point. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. Most underrated amusement park in your opinion in the US? Um, that's a tough one because it just depends what you count as underrated. Like, I love Knobles, but I don't know if that counts as underrated still because it's so loved. Um, Lagoon's another really good one just because not a lot of people visit it because it's in Utah. But again, everyone who goes seems to love it. Um, yeah, so that's what I'd say. But again, those aren't exactly small parks. Brand Basil, just tune in now. How was Hakuge? That ride was amazing. Probably a top 5 RMC, just I haven't officially placed it yet, but it was an amazing ride. Mrs. String, are you able to ban this troll? Yeah, so sorry if there's been some inappropriate comments coming in. It's a different user who's posting every time, so I have to basically stop each user when it happens. I'll address it when I get down there, but hopefully it stops. Dicronius, do you believe there'll be another SNS air thrust launched coaster? Yeah, I can't see why there wouldn't be another. Max Force seems to be relatively successful, and yeah, as long as someone pays SNS, I'm sure they're happy to do it. Nick's vlogs. You plan to go to King's Dominion for your first time, and you must do rides that need a hit. So I have a whole video ranking their best rides, but Twisted Timbers and Pantherian are the two best rides in that park. John Pelosi, any plans to go to Walibi Holland to ride Yoy? I'd like to get on that one this summer. I do probably think I'll go to Europe at some point this summer, and if I do, there's a high chance I'd ride that coaster. Jaden Herbert, you're really nervous on Fahrenheit Hershey Park. The vertical lift was terrifying. Yeah, the vertical lifts, I like them, but I know why some people find them freaky. Hello, Mavericks Heartline roll. Samuel Cohn, what would you add to make Islands of Adventure lost content to make it great again? So at that park, I'd love to see another big dark ride just because when the storms roll in, they don't have as much to do as the Studios park. So yeah, that'd be my pick. Build another big dark ride. Mason, that weird guy. People who have ridden are saying Wrath of Rakshasa does not really have a rattle, so let's hope the Giga Dive is smooth too. Yeah, it's great to hear if that ride's smooth. I think it was Media Day today, so that's encouraging to hear. The only thing I'll say is sometimes on Media Day, the reports are overwhelmingly positive because people are invited to the park. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when people are there not for Media Day. Waffle XL 200, in your opinion, was the most overrated coaster outside North America? Um, I'll say Edgenica just because I've seen a lot of people say it's the world's best coaster. However, when they say that, they always add the caveat you can't ride on an outside seat because it's rough. To be the world's best coaster, I feel like you shouldn't have to ride it in a specific seat and have such a dramatic experience. But that is the case with Edgenica, where there's a huge difference smoothness between the inside and outside seats. Roller Coaster Nick, do you think Falcon's Flight will be the best coaster in the world? It definitely could be between the speed, size, and unique setting. There really isn't another coaster that's going to be like that out there, and I doubt someone else will build something quite like that. Crystalic, you're going to Connieland in a couple weeks. Any tips for something I should do that I might otherwise miss? So I assume you're going to do Cobra. They have some notable non-coasters that are really strange. So Mammoth Tree is it's better to go into that ride blind, but I'll just say if you get there, do that early because it gets the worst line in the park. Um, I believe they also added an indoor drop tower that's really well themed and should that be a pretty punchy drop. So that's another thing to make sure you do. I think it's called Crazy Professor. The Connects expert is that coaster Gold Reef a dive. It looks like it could be one of the best. Yeah, so it's not a B&M, but I would count it as a dive coaster because it's essentially one big drop. Tower of Terror looks really cool, and I've heard that pullout's crazy forceful. Maverick's Heartline roll. Are you planning on making more reverse POVs, or is that a one-time thing? It depends if I'm able to film them at a park. So to do that, I need to have be allowed to use like a wrist mount, so that way I can position the camera in front of me. If I can only use a chest mount at a park, filming a reverse POV isn't really feasible. I'll try to take more when I can, but it depends if I'm able to use the right mount. And also, I don't want to disturb other guests. So like, if I'm at a park and it's busy, I'm riding, with a bunch of kids around me, don't really want to film one. Mason, that weird guy. You're visiting Six Flags Fiesta, Texas for the first time in 6 years this summer. Last time you went, you were barely tall enough for Iron Rattler. Which do you think I'm? Which do you think I like most, except Iron Rattler? So I think Wonder Woman's the second best ride in the park. That's an incredibly intense ride. If you get there at opening, head to Wonder Woman first because it does not have the best capacity. Uh, Sorry, I just lost my spot. Fierce Abueda, what was the best ride you did in Japan, and how long was the trip? Were there any other stops you did in Asia? It was just Japan. I mean, there's a lot to do in Japan beyond just the parks. There's a lot of cool cities to visit. We were there for just over 2 weeks, and the best ride in Japan was Hakuge. That's an amazing coaster. Legos and Coaster 1995. Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego is an underrated beat. In my opinion, one of my favorites there. Yeah, it's a really nice ride. I do prefer the drops in the bigger dive coasters, but that ride has really nice pacing. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995 was the worst coaster lineup of all the parks you've been to. That one's really tough to answer. It's because the worst lineup's probably gonna be just one that has like a just a small kiddie coaster. Um, yeah, so that one's really tough to answer. Sorry. Mason, that weird guy. Would you like to see Mr. Freeze at both parks get an LSM refurbishment to extend the lifetime because of how unreliable the LIM launch can be? If the options were remove Mr. Freeze or renovate it, I'd pick the renovation because that's still an incredibly fun ride. Dicronius, about Wiener Prater, how much would a quick credit run cost? I really don't like the pay per ride system, but it is what it is. So if you're trying to ride every single coaster once, given the prices at that park and the quantity of coasters, I would not be surprised. I mean, the cheapest ones are probably $6. How many credits does that park have at this point? Isn't it like 13? Um, yeah, so they'll have 15 coasters when Wiener Looping opens. Um, you're looking at spending at least like probably $120 to get all the credits. So it's definitely an expensive park. But on the bright side, you don't have to ever wait because of how they do that system. So think of it as you're buying a skip the line pass when you go there. And it's makes it a little more palatable. Aviation slander. You're going to King's Dominion with a large group. You're entering the park somewhat late at 1 hour past opening. What order of rides should you do? So I've not been since Rapterra opened, but I would say to head to Twisted Timbers early because it's towards the back, so not a lot of people go there super early in the day. And that's an amazing ride. Pantherian usually isn't too much of an issue just because a lot of people find it too intense. Hopefully, it's open for you when you go because I know they're still working to get that up for the year. I would imagine Rapterra would be better to hit in the afternoon after people have advanced further in the park. Mary Leggett, which roller coaster are you looking forward to in China when you go? I think the coaster I'm most looking forward to in China would be Coaster Through the Clouds. That looks like a really nice intimate hyper. Maverick's Heartline roll. What do you think about the future of Lakemont's coasters? Definitely a bit worried given how that park has had financial issues. I really hope Leap the Dips reopens. I would like to think if that park never reopens the rides, someone would save that coaster. Knoebels loves their classic ride, so hopefully that would be the case again. Uh, Nick's Vlogs. I think Six Flags Great Adventure needs a compressed air coaster. That would be nice. I still think their next coaster is gonna be that Mach Extreme Spinning Tower Coaster, given the surveys and how that's been pretty accurate for the other new additions coming to the parks in 2026. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Love Field coasters. Which season do you think Six Flags is the best upcoming attractions for? 2025 or 2026? I'll go with 2026, given you have both a Giga Dive and that record breaking coaster supposedly coming to Great Adventure. So yeah, I'd say that. Brand Basil, which do you prefer, El Toro or Voyage's first half? If you're just asking for the first halves of both those coasters, I'll go with El Toro's because I love the drop in that ride, and then the two camelbacks at the start, epic. Hello, NPC coasting. Um, NPC coasting. I hope to ride Quantum Accelerator next weekend if the ride's ready. It was testing last weekend. So I was thinking the park was going to try to get that open for Memorial Day weekend. I don't think that'll happen. Ace was given notification about a commercial shoot coming out in mid June, and the media day extras were needed sometime around that as well. I suspect it'll open probably mid to late June based off of that information. Waffle XL 200. Are you excited for El Toro's 2026 retrack? Yeah, I mean, that ride has a really cool layout, a lot of power, but it has gotten a bit shaky at points in recent years. So hopefully that fixes the issue. The Boogeyman. Top three Texas coasters in your opinion? Um, Iron Rattler, Wonder Woman, and third would probably be Boardwalk Bullet. The Connects expert. Do you prefer making short or long form content? Definitely the long form content. I just make the reels and shorts because they're quick to make, and if people enjoy them, I'm happy to post them. Ryan F, are you going to announce any coaster trips? Would love to hit a ride with you. So I typically don't announce coaster trips in advance. Reason being, I've always been taught when you go away, you don't post to go away because people might be tempted to break into your house or something. Um, so yeah, but if you see me at a park, you're happy. Feel free to say hello to me. But that's the reason I'm not gonna post, a trip in advance. Jaden Herbert, do you ever get nervous on roller coasters? Yeah, depending on the ride, sometimes I do. It's very rare nowadays, though. Brand Basil, thoughts on Fujiyama? It was the most surprising coaster on my Japan trip last year. The ending in the back row is chaotic. So the furthest back I gone, Fujiyama was the fifth out of the seventh car. I thought the ending was decent in there, but not wild. Later, I got a ride in the second row, and that finale was crazy up there. I would have loved to get in the back row, but it just wasn't possible given how Fuji-Q loads front to back really strictly. Um, I definitely enjoyed the ride though. I can only imagine how much better the airtime would be if I did get that back car though. Connor, on a scale of 1 to Diddy Party, how freaky is Berg Falkenstein at Holiday Park, Germany? Well, I'll go with 0 now because they're updating that ride to a Smurfs Dark ride. So, the how should I put it? The non-consensual scene that was previously there is no longer there anymore. Ellis 335, Epic Universe is finally opened. Do you think you can make it to Epic Universe at least by the fall? Yeah, so I don't like to go to Orlando in the summer. It's absurdly hot. You basically have an afternoon thunderstorm like clockwork. Um, and it's also very busy with kids being out of school. I definitely will get to Epic Universe this year. I'm probably just going to wait for the fall when the weather's more comfortable, the opening kinks are worked out, and it won't be as busy. The Connects expert. The B&M coming to Shanghai Legoland looks really cool. Yeah, I love how it has a giant minifigure holding up that camelback. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. Will you be heading to Lost Island theme park this year for Fire Runner's opening? Um, I don't think I will. I was just at Lost Island last year. Fire Runner should be a great addition for that park, but I've ridden a near clone of that in Stunt Pilot. I understand this one has two extra cars, so it might have a little extra airtime in the back, but I just don't feel the need to necessarily head there this year because it is in a bit of an annoying location, being in Iowa. Dicronius, do you think speed no limits from Oakwood would be relocated to another Aspro park like Walligator Grand Est? I think it's definitely possible. Speed seems like it would be pretty easy to relocate because it's on a flat plot of land and it's a relatively modern coaster. That would be a perfect example of a park that would benefit from it. Coaster Warrior, when do you think Pantherian will open up? Going in 2 weeks. So I haven't been following King's Dominion too closely to see the status of that ride. Um, Hopefully, there's been a recent vlog or something that'll show you if they're getting close. I don't think it's been testing yet this year, but correct me if I'm wrong. The Connects expert. The season that Six Flags has the best upcoming attractions is the year Qiddiya opens. Yeah, that is true. That park looks pretty stacked. So if that is this year, it'd be pretty tough to beat next year. Now that I think about it. Brandon Basil, did you visit any new parks in Japan, or were they all revisits? Hanayashiki was the one new park I visited. The others were revisits, but because I had only been to several of those parks once, it was really nice to get back to them. Uh, Love Field Coasters. Do you think the brand new 2026 B&M gig at my home park over Texas gang will be a top five B&M? I think it'll be hard for it to beat B&M's Giga and Hypers, in my opinion, just because I love how much airtime those rides have. But it definitely is a contender for being the best dive coaster, though. Henry, if you had to choose between Phantasialand or Europa Park for your first German park, which would you choose? Um, those two really are a coin flip. Both are amazing parks. Um, Phantasialand has less rides, but the quality of each ride proportionally is better than Europa Park. Europa Park has some elite coasters and some very good dark rides, and just the sheer quantity of attractions that park has is amazing. Um, I really can't pick one or the other. You want to visit both. Ryan F., I am a 50-year-old coaster enthusiast, and you're finally hitting my bucket list coaster of the voyage in 3 weeks. Any suggestions for a park visit? It'd be cool to hit Raven, Legend, then Voyage. So with that park, most people go to Raven first because it's by the main entrance. What I would recommend to do is to go to Legend first, get on that quickly, then go back to Voyage, and you can usually get a few rides before the crowds make it back there. Return to Raven in the afternoon, and it'll probably be a walk on. The most important thing with that park is if you want to do the water coasters, make sure you get into Splash and Safari immediately when it opens and knock those out right away. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. Do you think the Sky Caliber water slide will ever open? Is that the like capsule you rode in there with the vertical drop? If so, I'm really skeptical because it's been around for a while and no one's bought it. It seems like the capacity would be really bad because you have to go in the capsules. Jaden Herbert, do you have any pets? I have two cats. They are not in the room right now because it'd probably be pretty disruptive. I got a new camera, but with the old one, if they even touch the cord, the live stream would crash. So maybe I'll let them make a guest appearance at the end of the stream. Just no guarantee the stream holds up if they touch the cord, which again they tend to do. Waffle XL200. Do you think the SBNO, B&M Hyper, and Wing Coaster in China have a chance of ever opening? I have not followed what exactly has been going on with Hot Go Dream World. I would imagine 2 B&Ms that are modern could be relocated. I just don't know if that park has any plans of still opening. Aviation slander. Let's say you have 12 coaster limit and somewhat reasonable family kitty coasters. What would be a good coaster lineup? That would be a really tough one to pick. I'd say you want to have, a big hyper coaster, a nice multi-launch coaster, um, multiple family coasters to help disperse the crowds. A water coaster is a nice way to round out the lineup if you have a flume. At least one or two woodies, um, and something else that's inversion heavy, like an invert or something. Baron, thoughts on the tush push staying? Um, yeah, I get why some teams want to ban that play just because of how it's very tricky to stop. Um, yeah, I get why the Eagles do it so often because they're good at it, and they basically it's like a rugby scrum, and the offensive players have the advantage getting the leverage at the start of it, and I get why teams like the Packers wanted to ban it. C Dub, can you give a comprehensive review of Daredevil Dive at Six Flags Over Georgia? I believe I already have a review for that ride published. It's a solid ride. Connor, what is your fifth favorite element on the Smiler? I haven't ranked my elements in that ride, but I can give you my favorite elements. I love the double barrel roll. The camelback in the second half is amazing. The one in the first half very good as well, just not quite as powerful. And I love the diving corkscrews. Andrew the Legend, have you tried Lightning Rod's new chain lift yet? I have not. I probably will get back to Dollywood next year if they add a substantial new addition like they're teasing. I don't know for sure if I'll be down there this year. C Dub, what do you think will be the Costco guy's favorite roller coaster? I don't know who that is, so I can't answer that, sorry. 1D ago, do you think there'll be another mock extreme spinner in the US? And if so, where do you think it'll go? Um, I think the best guess is Six Flags Great Adventure if they do build that tower coaster they've been teasing. Connor, what is your wife's ninth favorite coaster? Um, yeah, so she loves rides that are well themed or have cool settings. So like what her some of her favorite coasters are Lightning Rod and Boulder Dash. She loves the Disney coasters, like she loves Guardians. Um, yeah, so I'd say that some of those rides are up there for sure with her. She also loves the Paris Big Thunder Mountain specifically. Barcelona, what's up? You're late because you're preparing for a trip to Lake Tahoe. Yeah, have fun. That's a really cool area. I went there when I had an internship in California. Diesel's coaster and map reviews. What would you anticipate to be your next new country for parks? Um, Tough to say because sometimes I go places for work I wouldn't have gone otherwise. So yeah, we'll see where it takes me. Kite, have you ever done a lift walk before? Yes, I have. I was evac from the lift hill on Talon at Dorney Park as a storm rolled in, which was quite the thing to do. I've also done a lift walk on a water coaster at a water park. It was on one of the ones with the conveyor belt lift hills, and we were given the option to board at the top instead if we wanted to, which was a cool thing to try. Connor, what was the loudest you've ever heard someone fart on a ride? Um, the loudest I've heard someone fart on a ride was in Japan. They have some of these shoot the shoot rides with a covered boat, and it was just one big group we were with, and someone thought it'd be funny to rip a fart in there. And in case you're wondering, yeah, it doesn't really have much ventilation in there, so yeah, the smell really festered in there. Coaster Street, favorite video you've ever made? Um, I enjoy a lot of the park reviews I do. It's hard for me to say for sure if I have a specific favorite video though. Dicronius, do you think someone will ever pick up Marineland or is it doomed? So, given how that park has an absolutely amazing location by Niagara Falls, I could very well see another park picking that up. Even if they ditch the animal aspect, having the infrastructure for a park already in place, especially a park of that scale, will definitely help someone else if they want to build a big park in that area. LS335. Do you know exactly what Dollywood is building for 2026 yet? I do not. They have not. It looks like it'll be a big addition in Wildwood Grove. My thought would be it would be some sort of. Um, I think they tease to be like take flight in 2026. My thoughts would be based off that teaser, a flying coaster of some kind, which would make sense because it's been 10 years since they had a thrill coaster. Um, I also could see them adding a big dark ride, so something like a flying theater or uh, like a Mockingbird powered coaster would be a great addition for that park. Do you think Frontier City will ever get a new roller coaster? What type of coaster type will they most likely get? I think that park will need to be sold before they get a new coaster. If you look at their schedule this year, it's really strange how I think they're open like from 4 to 9 a lot of days. That's really weird hours for a park. And given how they have a relatively limited schedule, I would not be surprised if that's a park Six Flags doesn't really want to, own going forwards. C Dub, what was the weirdest interaction you've had with a fan? This isn't a bad one at all. Just one I wasn't expecting. When I was in Tokyo on the subway, not even near a park, I was recognized by someone. Very cool. Just I was not expecting to be seen on a subway. I've been seeing parks before though. Jaden Herbert, you're going to Twisted Gravity preview day at Hershey Park on May 23rd, which is tomorrow. You have fun. The large screaming swings are great flat rides. Connor, who is the most chopped theme park mascot? I don't really know what that means, so sorry, I can't answer that one. Um, Barcelona, will you ride Top Thrill 2 this year? I definitely want to get to see your point this year for that and Siren's Curse. Probably be a weekend trip, but don't know when it'll happen. 1FTP, Cedar Point just released the towers coming down and Corkscrew is going to be painted teal. The towers coming down, you're referring to Power Tower? I have not seen that, but yeah, I'll have to take a look after the stream. Sorry, I'm struggling to read this next one. The text, I think it's Panther DE favorite coaster. Lightning Rod's currently my favorite coaster, but I haven't not been on it since it got rid of the launch. May rethink that when I do my rankings next year, but that's still an elite ride. Love the setting and pacing. Jaden Herbert, have you met any of the candy characters at Hershey Park? Yeah, like I think I've met like the Hershey bar and Reese's. I think they were dressed as like Santa Claus at Christmas time. Theme Park Fan '09. Will you visit Epic Universe this year? Definitely. As I mentioned earlier, probably in the fall, just because I want to avoid the Orlando heat in the summer, and I want to avoid the opening rush crowds. Uh, Waldo Lar, when are you coming back to Lake Compounds? I don't know for sure when I'll be going to Lake Compounds this year. I mean, it's one of my local parks, so I'll pop in randomly. I definitely be going for their Halloween event. That's my favorite time of year to go for the night rides on Boulder Dash. Coaster Boss, have you ever been able to park along residential streets in New Jersey boardwalks in the summer for free? So, having grown up in Boston, I know how strict parking on the street can be and how easily you can be ticketed. Just for peace of mind, I've typically paid to park in parking lots. I know you can park in certain streets, but I just tend to lean towards the parking lot just because it's less stressful. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. Do you think California's Great America will be saved or will it be torn down? I think the biggest help right now is the city. They don't want to rezone that park for something other than an amusement park. They want to keep it as a park. And as long as that happens, it has a good chance of sticking around. Dicronius, favorite Japanese jet coaster. Does Surf Coaster Leviathan count? It might be a little too extreme to count as a jet coaster, but that ride's the best of the bunch if it does. Connects expert connects over Lego. Um, I did more games growing up than like block sets, but I enjoyed both of them. It's hard to pick one. DJ Dog 5. Any upcoming plans for visiting the New England parks? Um, Probably my next park visit will probably be Six Flags New England. Don't know for sure when I'll be visiting though. Connor, how do you think Six Flags Qiddiya will handle hijabs flying off during Falcon's flight due to the high speeds? So you can look what the Abu Dhabi parks do. Some of them have you wear like this. I don't even know how to describe. It's like a full bodysuit. Others will like pin it to your head. I imagine they'll do something the Abu Dhabi parks have done. Barcelona, will you ride Big Bad Wolf this year? Most likely. I can easily do Busch Gardens in a weekend trip. Coaster Boss, do you plan to review Flash at Great Adventure once you ride it? Definitely. I'll get to that park later this year. Just don't know when it'll be. Andrew the Legend, what are your thoughts on the new Blackpool gyro swing? I love the Intamin gyro swings. It's arguably one of the best flat rides out there. Um, Happy to see more. Ellis335, another huge question. Do you recommend Kentucky Rumbler? I'm planning to go to Beach Bend the next month and I'm looking forward to riding it for the first time. So I've been to Beach Bend once and it was probably like 8 years ago at this point. It's a fun little ride. It's one of the weaker GCIs, but if you can go past it on a road trip, definitely worth popping in. Especially because I think it has Titan track now, so it should be running pretty well. Uh, Panther DE, have you ever been to Phantasialand? Oh, several times. I love that park. The Connects expert. Great Adventure should be renamed the Great Depression. Okay, it stinks they removed so many rides, especially King Ka, but it's still a very good park, especially if they, get a big new addition next year to basically backfill King Ka. Dicronius, can you tell us about the origin of your YouTube name? Why did you choose Canobie Park? It was my home park for many years, so that's why I named myself after it. I've been going to that park ever since I was 2 and, would go annually. Fox on a roller coaster. Just some small sad news for Germans. The biggest portable indoor coaster, Holland Blitz, has been sold to the Millers Group. Well, it's disappointing it'll no longer tour in Germany, presumably. I'm glad the ride's living on at least. It's a really unique spinning coaster. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. What do you think will happen at Batwing at Six Flags America? Unfortunately, I think that ride will be scrapped, given its age, complexity, and repeated downtime. ZZ Coasters. What do you think of Steel Curtain? Going down to Kennywood in a couple weeks to ride it. It's a solid coaster, a very good one. A lot of fun inversions. Not the most forceful ride out there, but it's an all around fun coaster, and it complements the other stuff at Kennywood really nicely. Coaster Boss. Do you think Alpine Fury would be open by July 8th? They still have one last element to put up. I thought they completed track work on that ride, but I could be wrong. Um, I would imagine it'll be open by July 8th. The reason I'd say that is they have said it'll open late spring. Technically, spring ends at the end of June. So, based off that wording, unless it's delayed, I think it should be open. Brian Basil, thoughts on Zocon? One of the better Intamin straddle coasters. A really long ride, had some tricks in there, and there are a few punchy turns in there. Connor, biggest dump you've ever dropped at a theme park? Um, so the one I can think of is at Universal Studios Japan. Um, they had, if you've been to that park, they have a Snoopy themed restaurant, like the Snoopy Cafe in the kids area. I got it was like an omelet over spaghetti. I don't know what was wrong with that, but that went straight through me. I was in doing Terminator T2, and that ride has since closed. And in the pre-show, I could tell I something was coming. Um, I had to bail out and run, and missed the ride one last time. Barcelona, Silveridge Corkscrew just turned 50. Yeah, I'm glad they keep that ride going given, how historic it is. Panther DE, favorite flying coaster. So, I've said Fly, but after getting back on Flying Dinosaur, it may be that one. Those 2 are head and shoulders the best, flyers out there. The Connects expert. Why doesn't Six Flags Mexico have higher attendance? So every time I've been, that park's been really busy. So they seem to do pretty good for attendance. Henry, what type of music do you like? Probably theme park music, just because it evokes happy memories from being at the park. Um, Coaster Boss, Wild One's closure will hurt the most of any ride at Six Flags America, in my opinion. I would agree with that. Superman is probably the best ride in the park, slightly over Wild One, but at least we have a mirror clone of that Darien Lake. Wild One is a ride I'm nostalgic for, given how it used to run near where I grew up, and it's a really good wood coaster still. Andrew the Legend, current coaster count. It's approaching 1,400. Ellis 3 through 5. Do you think Universal will dominate the competition over Disney and Orlando, given that they've opened Epic Universe? I think Disney still is the premier theme park company out there because if you ask people why they're going to Orlando, usually the first answer is Disney World, not Universal. That being said, more people are going specifically for Universal, and people love it when they go. But I still think Disney's going to be the king in Orlando. Jaden Herbert, Laugh Track is celebrating its 10th year anniversary of Hershey Park in 2025. What do you think about that? Um, that's a ride I don't ride too often, Hershey Park, given the line, but it's a very popular ride for the park, and I'm glad it's still running strong. I like how they do the overlays during the holidays. Fox on a roller coaster. You agree about my opinion of Volares. You rode your first one at the Prodder last week and really enjoyed it. And to be honest, that's probably the worst Volaria I've been on. It's again still a fine ride. Rough around the edges, but I know how to ride it without hitting my head. Legos and Coaster Nerd 1995. What is your thought on Lagoon's new flat rides and steampunk land? Um, yeah, I it should be a nice addition for that park. I believe they're getting a Wild Swing, which is a really cool flat ride, and I'm glad we get one in the US now. Connor, best theme park ride to experience while intoxicated. Maya's Star Wars. So I will say this with a huge caveat: never drink and drive in an actual car, but doing it at Oktoberfest after having, a big beer, getting drunk, and going on the bumper cars is a lot of fun. And it shows you why you should never actually drink and drive. Um, One you should not do while intoxicated is go to Yokohama Cosmo World. I actually saw someone have to do a breath. So at the end of the night on Dive and Coaster Vanish, they were forcing people to take a breathalyzer to get on the train. It was basically like it looked like a pen you'd blow into. And if you know Japan, they load front to back. I thought I had counted correctly at the front, but I had miscounted by one. So we weren't going to get the front because there was one couple in front of us. However, they failed the breathalyzer, so we actually got the front instead. Shem the Grace Hopper rode Grand National last week and it was great. One of the best rides I've had on since the Buzz Pars were replaced in 2005. Hope you get back on soon. Oh, I loved Grand National. I rode last year. I specifically didn't ride in the very back row because of how rough it was, but the second to back and third to back were great experiences. That ride has some powerful airtime. Barcelona. Do you think people are underestimating the Mach Tower coaster? I think so. The ride shelf should be amazing. I'm just worried about the capacity if they don't go with some type of like rotating load platform. The Connects expert. Give Superman and Darien Lake and make it a dueling coaster. I saw some people say that'd be funny to do, but I pray they don't do that, and I don't think they would. Um, yeah, they should give that ride to a park that doesn't have a hyper. I know it takes up a lot of space, but hopefully they do. Brandon Basil, do you prefer Disney Sea or Universal Studios Japan? Thoughts and Journey to the Center of the Earth. I prefer Disney Sea, but both parks are amazing. As for Journey to the Center of the Earth, I was glad to finally get on that. That was the ride that was closed for maintenance when I went to my first time to Tokyo Disney Resort. Um, really awesome finale and some nice dark ride scenes. Henry, what is your go-to resort, Walt Disney World? For me, it's All Star Sports. It is the cheapest resort typically, and for how much time I spent at the parks, I basically just want a clean room with a little bit of the Disney magic to it, and All Star Sports does that. Um, The Kinect's expert. I think Universal Japan has a better shot than Epic at being the most attended park. So I Universal Japan's advantage is that it's the only park at that resort, so everyone who's going has to go to that park. Whereas, like, for example, Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, the crowds are balanced at those two parks, especially because the two parks are both amazing. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Universal Japan continues to have higher attendance, especially this year because Epic opened later, so it won't reach the levels of something like Universal Studios Japan. Coaster Boss. I rode Laugh Track on opening day and waited at least 2 hours for it. Yeah, that sounds pretty typical for that ride. Um, Dicronius, what parks you've never been to and are planning to visit in Europe? I think the biggest parks I have not been to Europe at this point are the Turkish parks. I don't have any immediate plans to go there though. Roller Coaster Nick, better country for coasters, Japan or Germany? I would say Germany. That country is a few I'd say Germany, but it is relatively close. The reason I'd side towards Germany is if over there you typically can pick your seat. There are a lot of rides in Japan you cannot, and it does impact quite a few of those coasters if you don't get, the best row. C Dub, thoughts on Steamtown Six Flags America? It looks like a cool area. I have not personally been there to experience it. Um, yeah, hopefully um, hopefully some of those rides are saved. So I'm gonna wrap up soon. I'm gonna open the door to the office and see if the cats appear. Again, if they come up and touch the webcam, there's a chance the stream crashes, but we'll see what happens. Um, MC Clips, crazy how you have only 45,000 subs with more credits than Coaster Studios. Um, yeah, I mean, large credits doesn't necessarily mean you make the best content. I mean, it's what you do with it. Oh, we have one of the cats coming in. Here comes Dolly. Up and there's Maverick. Um, one FTP. How? C Dub. Sorry, just trying to get caught up. Token Champion. What park in the USA do you think badly needs a hypercoaster? Um, Six Flags St. Louis is one that comes to mind now. Technically, they have one, Mister Freeze, but I'd love if they could actually get a real airtime focused hypercoaster. Trying to think what other one could badly use one. There's probably another park I'm missing off the top of my head. Coaster Bosses. Sad that Dragonfire looks like one of the better coasters of Canada's Wonderland. I'm just thankful that Cedar Fair has invested in that park, considering, that park had a really bad coaster lineup for many years. Goosebumps. Besides Superman, what is your favorite ride at Six Flags America? For me, it was Wild One. That came really close to beating Superman my last visit. Andrew the Legend. How do you think Alpenfury will rank for you in Canada's Wonderland? Um, it's probably top three. It's hard to say for sure what it'll rank at because it depends how forceful those inversions are. Coaster Boss, do you have a method to make the B&M vest not as bad? You can hold on to the vest, like the stretchy part in front of your chest. That's the best way to mitigate it. But if you ride one of the ones that lock in place, it's more important to do that right when you dispatch. Jaden Herbert, Candemonium is one of the smoothest coasters I've been on. Yeah, that ride's super smooth. Fox on a roller coaster, most intense flat ride you've ever experienced so far. Skater on the German fair circuit comes to mind. That's a top scan that has an absolutely crazy cycle. Connor, best cat themed roller coaster. Unless I'm missing one, it'd probably be Wildcats Revenge, but um, I would not be surprised if I'm forgetting one off the top of my head. Um, yeah, 'cause- Yeah, I think it would be Wildcat's Revenge. Doug Ronald, Knott's could use a hyper. Yeah, sorry, that's the part that needs it most. Yeah, that's a perfect hyper fit if they put one in. Andrew the Legend, a hyper coach would be a good fit for Dollywood. Yeah, it would work well at uh both there and Silver Dollar City, especially if they can use the train at those parks. Dicronius, have you ever valleyed or got a rollback on a coaster? I've gotten a rollback in Expedition G-Force. Uh, we dispatched and the cable lift didn't quite work correctly, so we rolled back into the station. Not really a rollback you'd expect, but it happened nonetheless. Um, Shem the Grace Hopper. I'm definitely taking the time to visit the pier at Blackpool. Finished Pleasure Beach this year. I'm assuming you mean South Pier. If so, that's a fun place to go at night. They have some really nice flat rides there. Coaster Boss. I would have rather have Six Flags Discovery Kingdom closed down rather than CGA. I definitely prefer CGA. I wouldn't want either parks to close, but um, yeah, uh, it's unfortunate Great America be the one who closed. MC Clips. Sorry if missed any comments. I try to get caught up, but sometimes the comments jump around, especially when I have to block certain comments. It scrolls down to the user's newest comments, and I have to go back. Favorite big coaster. Right now, I'd say Lightning Rod, Dollywood, but again, I haven't ridden it since they replaced the launch with a chain lift. Ellis 3 through 5. What do you think is going to happen with Timberwolf at Worlds of Fun? My guess is that it'll get a huge refurb before next year, given how it's closed this year. I personally would like to see an RMC, considering they have two other wood coasters in the park. Um, yeah, we'll see what happens. Barcelona, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom has so much potential. It definitely does. Their operations are the biggest issue. They really need to fix that. Henry, do you think Cedar Point will ever do a full Gravity Group retrack on Blue Streak? I think that's the most likely way they maintain that, considering it's a classic ride and it doesn't make sense to convert that off a wood coaster. Dicronius, do you think Euromir will close in the near future? I'm glad I got the credit earlier this month. I know there's a rumor it'll close down. I imagine it'll be a retrack, but you never know for sure. Coaster Boss, Mind Buster is getting that one hill drawn out in the first. I'm probably gonna sign off soon. Voice starting to get a little sore, and it's been over an hour. But yeah, I think I got through a lot of questions. You saw a brief cameo from the cats before they left. And yeah, thanks again for signing on. So I'll just answer the last question I see here. Fox on a roller coaster. Why do you think Europe's Woodies are mostly GCIs? Um, well, a lot of Europe's Woodies are modern and they're arguably the premier modern wood coaster manufacturer. I don't know why they've necessarily had more business there than Gravity Group, but um, yeah, I definitely welcome more GCIs. So thanks again everyone for joining. If there's a question you want to answer I didn't get to, feel free to put it in the comments. I'll get back to it. Um, but yeah, thanks again for joining and have a good rest of your night. Thanks everyone. Bye.